barely used saltwater boats are flooding coastal markets at prices nobody imagined 3 years ago. Dealers who once had waiting lists now struggle with packed lots. Buyers who financed premium center consoles during the boom face crushing negative equity. The saltwater boat market has transformed from frenzy to financial disaster in record time. What triggered this collapse? And what does the wreckage reveal about an industry that misread every signal? In 2020 and 2021, U.S. boat sales reached levels not seen since before the 2008 financial crisis. Over 310,000 new powerboats sold in 2020, followed by approximately 300,000 units in 2021, according to NMMA data. Saltwater-capable boats drove coastal market demand across Florida, Texas, and the Carolinas. Boston Whaler, Grady White, Sea Hunt, and other manufacturers expanded production schedules, adding shifts and extending operations to meet orders. Dealer inventories dropped to crisis levels. New boat supply averaged just 42 days on dealer lots, compared to normal levels of 120 days. Supply chain constraints affecting Yamaha and Mercury engines, Garmin electronics, and marine hardware stretched delivery times from typical 8-week windows to 6 months or longer. 3-year-old used boats appreciated in value, with many selling for 90 to 105% of original purchase prices across coastal markets. First-time buyers accounted for 34% of boat sales in 2021, with 420,000 entering the market that year alone. This represented nearly double the historical average of 22%. These were not traditional boating families or retirees planning for years. Young professionals, families with kids, and recent graduates pooled savings for boats they had seen on Instagram and YouTube fishing channels. Remote work enabled coastal migration. Naples, Charleston, Destin, and other waterfront cities experienced double-digit population growth. Florida saw new vessel registrations jump 38% between 2020 and 2022, with South Carolina up 42% and Texas climbing 51%. Social media fishing influencers gained millions of followers, driving beginners toward boat ownership faster than any traditional pathway. Dealers reported customers requesting specific models with electronics packages seen on YouTube channels. The financial profile shifted dramatically. Average household income for new boat buyers dropped from $132,000 to $94,000 as younger, less established buyers entered. Down payment percentages declined from a typical 25% to as low as 10%, with promotional programs offering zero down financing. Loan-to-value ratios climbed above 95%, creating severe vulnerability to any market depreciation. Boat manufacturers interpreted pandemic demand as a permanent expansion rather than a temporary surge. Between 2021 and 2023, the industry invested over $1.2 billion in production capacity based on projections of 6 to 8% annual growth through 2028. Grady White expanded their North Carolina facility. Sea Hunt invested $37 million in automation and workforce expansion. Scout boats broke ground on new facilities. Mid-tier builders increased production targets by 30 to 45%. Component suppliers doubled their workforces within 18 months to meet demand for hulls, T-tops, and marine upholstery. Marine electronics manufacturers faced 9-month backlogs for multifunction displays and sonar systems. Raw material costs complicated expansion as marine-grade aluminum prices jumped 73% and fiberglass resin rose 58% between January 2021 and March 2022. Despite rising input costs, manufacturers maintained pricing discipline, fearing market share loss. The cooling began in late 2022. Dealership foot traffic declined 23% in the fourth quarter versus the prior year. Spring 2023, traditionally the strongest selling season, failed to materialize, with sales dropping 31% year over year across southeastern states. Multiple factors converged. Inflation reached 40-year highs at 8% in 2022. Gasoline peaked above $5 per gallon in June 2022, making a typical offshore fishing trip cost $150 versus $75 18 months earlier. Marine rates climbed from below 5% to 8.5% to 11.9% by mid-2023. Monthly payments on a $70,000 boat with 20% down increased from $612 to $947 at prevailing rates. Return to office mandates reversed remote work trends, forcing relocations away from water access. Boats for sale listings on Boat Trader increased 79% between January 2023 and January 2024. By 2024, NMMA confirmed new powerboat sales declined 9.1% to 231,576 units. Pontoon sales dropped 10.9%, jet boats fell 14.4%, and stern drives plummeted 20.1%. Through June 2025, year-to-date, sales fell another 9.7% to 130,956 units sold. Saltwater boat dealers operate on floor plan financing, borrowing funds to stock inventory. In 2022 and early 2023, manufacturers pressured dealers through volume rebate programs offering 2 to 9% cashback on quarterly purchase thresholds. Florida dealers increased average inventory from 18 boats to 47 units. Texas dealers went from 14 to 39 boats. Some stocked 50 to 70 boats, representing $2 to $3 million in financed inventory. Floor plan interest rates climbed from 5.2% to 9.7% by December 2023, with some lenders charging 10.5% for aging inventory. Monthly carrying costs on a $50,000 boat jumped from $217 to $404. For dealers holding 40 boats, monthly interest alone exceeded $15,000 before insurance, storage, and overhead. Curtailment requirements forced dealers to pay down principal on unsold units after 90 to 180 days, requiring 5 to 10% payments without sales revenue. Mercury Marine announced 300 layoffs in June 2024, citing demand drops. Dealers faced unprecedented inventory levels with no buyers, while financing costs consumed profits. Saltwater boat values collapsed faster than nearly any recreational asset class. A 24-foot center console that retailed for $65,000 in 2021 saw used market values drop to $42,000 by early 2024 and to $31,000 by late 2025. Models from 2020 and 2021 experienced 50 to 63% depreciation within 4 years, compared to historical norms of 30 to 35% over similar timeframes. Buyers financing 90 to 100% found themselves deeply underwater. A typical scenario involved purchasing a $55,000 bay boat in 2021 with 10% down. After 3 years of payments, the loan balance stood at $41,000, while trade-in value fell to $24,000, creating $17,000 in negative equity. Default rates climbed from historical norms of 1.3% to 6.8% by mid-2025, with some regional lenders reporting defaults exceeding 12%. Coastal marinas face a hidden crisis as slip fees go unpaid and boats sit abandoned. Marina operators report delinquency rates tripling since 2023, with owners simply walking away from vessels they can no longer afford. Dry storage facilities across Florida, Texas, and the Carolinas now hold hundreds of boats whose owners stopped making payments months ago. Legal processes to claim abandoned vessels take 6 months to 2 years, depending on state laws, leaving marinas stuck with deteriorating inventory they cannot sell. The overflow has created secondary problems. Marinas desperate for paying customers cannot accept new slips because abandoned boats occupy premium spots. Insurance costs for marina operators have climbed as carriers recognize the growing liability of storing vessels with unclear ownership. Some facilities now require 6 months advance payment and personal guarantees before accepting boats, effectively pricing out casual boaters and further suppressing demand. The median age of U.S. boat owners reached 60 years old by year-end 2024, with more owners in their 70s than 40s according to InfoLink Technologies. Total marine industry expenditures reached $55.6 billion in 2024, down 2.6% from 2023. Used boat sales totaled 858,798 boats in 2024, representing 78.3% of all transactions versus 21.7% for new boats. Boat use spending and aftermarket accessories remained flat at $12.1 billion and $12.4 billion respectively, indicating owners continued using existing boats while avoiding new purchases. The Conference Board Consumer Confidence Index declined 7 points in February 2025 to 98.3, the largest monthly drop since August 2021 and the third consecutive monthly decline. The saltwater boat market collapse demonstrates how quickly optimism transforms into financial ruin when manufacturers mistake temporary surges for permanent trends. Dealers pressured into massive inventory positions face bankruptcy. Buyers who financed peak prices endure years of negative equity. An aging owner base and weakened consumer confidence suggest recovery remains distant. The wreckage scattered across coastal markets tells a clear story about production discipline, sustainable growth, and the devastating cost of misreading market signals.